You're watching PowerNation. Watch out, LS! The Gen 3 Hemi is quickly becoming a very popular street engine with plenty of aftermarket support.
Today on Engine Power, we build one from the block up and then hammer down on the dyno.
Smooth!
Dang.
That's pretty nasty right there.
Hey everyone, today on Engine Power, we're going to be building an engine that has grown in popularity in the last several years, the Gen 3 Hemi. Now, since this engine has come to rival even the LS, Holley has gone ahead and created an entire line of parts specifically for it. Everything from induction to fabricated valve covers, oil pan swap kits, accessory drive components, but most importantly, standalone fuel injection. Now, we've already gone ahead and painted all our components in our colors of choice, black and purple, so they're all ready to go on our brand new engine.
For this particular build, we wanted to use all new parts, so we contacted our buddy Mike Copeland at Arrington Performance in Brighton, Michigan, and he hooked us up with everything that we needed to do the long block. It starts with a factory fully machined 6.4 liter Gen 3 Hemi block. Now, these Gen 3s have some pretty racy features right from the factory, like a raised cam tunnel, a very large bore 4090, and a skirted block with cross-bolted mains. As far as the crankshaft, the stock crank is a factory forged unit at 3/720 stroke. Combined, these two can take a bunch of power in stock form. Moving along, we also have a set of 6.4 liter Gen 3 Hemi heads. These heads have a tight chamber, very large valves, and flow around 340 CFM, which is as much as some aftermarket offerings for the other brands. One thing we are upgrading over the stock componentry are the rod and piston assemblies. Now, there's nothing wrong with them. It's a hyper-eutectic piston and a powdered metal cracked cap rod, and they will take some abuse, but we wanted some heavier duty pieces for what we are doing. Arrington has custom pieces made that drop right in a 6.4 without having to rebalance it. That includes a custom Wiseco 2618 forged piston that has horizontal gas ports and coated skirts. Also, a set of Manley 4340 forged H-beam rods with a 6200 center-to-center length. We love working with the folks at Arrington because no matter what level of project you have, they have the right parts to get it done. Or if you want a complete engine built or go the extra mile and get a complete vehicle, they are the ones you want to see if you want to go fast with a Mopar. And the best part about all of this, we are going to be giving this engine away to you, a lucky viewer. We have teamed up with Holley and we will be giving this engine away after it's all done. So enough of the talking, let's get to building.
We begin with a fresh set of factory Mopar main bearings. As always, we check the clearance on all of the mains. With the ARP fasteners properly torqued, the first one comes in at 0.02 of an inch, which is within the factory specifications.
The rings are filed to fit. We're running them at 25 thousandths on the second ring and 23 thousandths on the top, as per Wiseco's spec for our application. We seat them correctly into the cylinder using an ARP ring squaring tool, then use a feeler gauge to confirm the gap. The gauge should fit into the gap with little effort, yet still be tight enough to stay in place under its own weight.
We have all the rods numbered, cleaned, and the bearings installed, so we'll go ahead and check rod bearing oil clearance. When you torque down a fastener, you stretch that fastener to a certain amount. The ARP digital rod bolt stretch gauge gives you a precise readout of that stretch. After the gauge is zeroed out, we'll torque the rod bolts to 90 pound-feet. This stretches the fastener by 5 thousandths of an inch, exactly what we're looking for. Rod bearing oil clearance with factory Mopar bearings looks fine as well. All of ours come in between 19 and 21 10,000ths.
This Hemi uses a set of oil squirters to cool the bottoms of the pistons. They are a must for high-performance street engines. Assembly lube is applied to the main bearings and the crankshaft goes gently into place.
There you go.
Thank you. After getting some ARP Ultra Torque lube, the large main cap bolts are torqued to 80 pound-feet. The side bolts receive thread sealant to prevent oil leakage, and they are torqued to 25 pound-feet.
Coming up, the Hemi receives high-performance valve train upgrades, fresh engine accessories, and an EFI system.
Then it's time for business in the dyno cell.
Now that we've got our crankshaft torqued down and fully installed, we can move on to our camshaft and timing set components. Arrington Performance also sent us one of their custom ground camshafts that are specific to their engine packages. This is a Comp Cams hydraulic roller with 225 degrees of intake duration at 50 thousandths lift, 235 degrees of exhaust duration at 50 thousandths lift, and 114 degree lobe separation angle. We're also going to be utilizing our stock cam timing gear because it'll work great at our power level. Now there's a couple different ways you can approach this, either limiting the phaser travel or completely locking it out like we chose to do. This is going to help eliminate any problems later on with piston to valve clearance when the engine is running. Then, when we degree the cam, we can set the intake center line wherever we want with a multi-keyway crank sprocket. First, the phaser spring is compressed using the specialty tool that comes with the lockout kit. The cover is removed and the expanding wedge, which locks out the phaser, drops into position. The pipe plug is tightened to keep everything in place. The cover is torqued back down and the clamp is removed. Thanks for that.
I wasn't wearing my glasses. So this center one is stock position, and these other two are 2 and 4 degrees advanced either way. So
yeah, advanced and retard. So we're going to start in the middle and then go from there.
I like that. What kind of water won't freeze?
What?
What kind of water won't freeze?
I don't know.
Hot water.
Oh, jeez. Are you running out of jokes? We put together just one rod and piston assembly for now so we can degree the cam.
Chamfer, arrow.
Yep.
Directional. These are directional because they have a little bit of a pin offset. Got it? There you go.
There. It comes in at 109.5 degrees of intake centerline, which is 4.5 degrees advanced.
With the rest of the rod and piston assemblies in place, we break the bolts loose one rod at a time for final torque.
Break these loose before you measure them.
That's very, even if they're just tight a little bit, it will affect it right down to the 10,000ths of an inch. So.
And so we snug them up so we can turn it over, but it's
Yeah.
really important to loosen them back up before you measure them for stretch.
Yeah.
My boots are sliding.
After the rod bolts are torqued to 90 pound-feet, we have 53 10,000ths of rod bolt stretch on this one. Perfect. Once the rest of the bolts are torqued and checked, the rotating assembly is complete. A new OEM oil pump comes next. We use 3 2/1000 thick shims to ensure that it's perfectly aligned before tightening it down. The timing chain gets a good coat of valve train assembly spray before we install a brand new car timing cover, followed by an ATI super damper, which is held in place by an ARP Balancer Bolt.
The factory non-MDS hydraulic roller lifters are pre-assembled, lubed, and then put into position.
We are upgrading to Comp Cam's conical valve springs and steel retainers. We are setting the springs up at an installed height of 1,985, which puts our seat pressure around 141 pounds and our open pressures around 409 pounds. The Intercom digital valve spring compressor from Goodson makes this job a snap. This valve spring installation tool from Powerhouse can be used in or out of the vehicle for easy spring changes. Up next, rock-solid, reliable front accessories get this Hemi ready for dyno testing.
One of the reasons we love using ARP products is that they pride themselves on both high quality materials and precision machining. But just as important as the fasteners themselves is their proper lubrication and installation. ARP provides specific instructions with each of their kits, and if they're followed correctly, can help avoid many of the common problems that you can have. The first and most important step is to have all the fasteners and threads completely clean of any oil or debris. Then we can start applying ARP's Ultra Torque Fastener Assembly Lube. This was specifically formulated to provide consistent torquing and clamp loads. We'll apply ARP Ultra Torque directly to the threads and the underhead of the bolt. When installing the washer, it's important that the chamfer faces the underhead of the bolt to clear the large radius. It's also critical that no ARP Ultra Torque gets on the bottom side of the washer, as it can turn it into a bearing-like surface, possibly damaging the threads or overstressing the fastener and even breaking it. We'll go ahead and get the rest of our bolts lubed and prepped, and then we can get our heads on our 6.4. The Holley oil pan kit includes a windage tray and oil pickup assembly. After the pickup is tightened down, we'll apply some sealant to the engine block mating surfaces. Finally, the oil pan is bolted to the block. It's Holley's mid-sump design, which is great for putting Gen 3 power plants into older vehicles. No gasket is required because the pan has an O-ring seal.
The factory cylinder heads come next. They have a 2 140 intake valve, 1 650 exhaust valve, and a 65cc double quench hemispherical combustion chamber. With our factory Mopar head gaskets, we have a measured compression ratio of 10.18 to 1. The heads are torqued in 3 stages to a final value of 100 pound-feet on the large bolts and 28 pound-feet on the small bolts.
After lubing the factory-length push rods, they slide into place. We're using the original rocker shafts, but we're adding rocker shaft stabilizers and collars. This helps make the valve train more rigid, which increases durability, especially at higher RPM and spring pressures. The valve covers are Mr. Gasket fabricated aluminum pieces. They are complemented by these MSD Blaster Series coil packs in black.
We are very close to getting our 6.4 liter Hemi on the dyno, but we still need a few components to finish it out. We need an OEM alternator for our Holley swap bracket, and obviously we need a new water pump. We chose the Duralast brand. Duralast is the most chosen aftermarket brand by professionals. Why? Because they manufacture and remanufacture parts to OE quality or better. Starting with our alternator, this is a quality remanufactured unit, meaning Duralast goes the extra mile in replacing every wear component inside, and it is triple tested at the component, subassembly, and finished product to ensure that it meets OEM or better specifications. Our car-style water pump is made from entirely new components, from its precision machine casting, new permanently sealed and lubricated bearings, to its pulley. Also, to send accurate data to our ECU, we picked up some new sensors as well. A new crank, cam, map, and coolant temp sensor. Now, even though this water pump looks great in its natural finish, we have to paint it to match the rest of the engine, so Frankie's got a job to do. First to go in is the cam sensor, along with the crank sensor. These are for a 2011 6.4 Hemi. Our EFI system can run with sensors from 2009 to 2012 engines. The freshly painted water pump bolts up, followed by the timing pointer. Holley offers several accessory swap component kits to work with factory car balancers, timing covers, and water pumps. After the Holley alternator bracket bolts down, the Duralast OE-style unit gets installed. The Holley power steering adapter kit with the included power steering pump finishes up the front end.
Up next, free-flowing induction along with a high-tech EFI setup make this Hemi howl. As you can see, we've saved the trickiest parts for last, like our intake manifold and EFI setup. This is Holley's high ram intake manifold, and we've already gone ahead and pre-assembled it with our painted fuel rails, our 105mm throttle body, and our 42 pound-per-hour injectors. The great thing about these manifolds is that the tops are interchangeable, so you can have a forward-facing throttle body, a rear-facing throttle body, you can put it to the side, or you can even run 1 or 2 carburetors like we have before. For EFI, we're using Holley's Terminator X MAX unit. This is great because it's super easy to set up, and you can run drive-by-wire throttle bodies and electronic transmissions. It has a built-in 1-bar map, or you can use the stock 1-bar map that comes with a Hemi. This unit comes with a ton of cool features, including boost and nitrous control with programmable safeties, and everything you need to get it hooked up. All the programming can be done with the handheld, or if you want to get deeper into the tune-up, you can use a laptop and Holley's free tuning software. Stick that on. There you go. The intake studs are torqued in 2 steps with a final value of 106 pound-inches.
With our engine hooked up on the dyno and our wiring harness installed, we're ready to fire it up. Okay.
Here we go.
Everything's hooked up, I think.
It should start right up.
Well, should.
What are you worried about?
What are you worried about?
Gosh, you old timers and fuel injection.
We always get some questions about engine break-in. We fully break in things before we start pounding on them. We don't always show that, but we do. So the biggest thing on this one, obviously with a roller cam, you're not going to break the cam in like a flat tappet, but putting a little bit of load on it, making sure your oil pressure is fine, make sure we don't have anything leaking out.
Yep, getting up to temp.
Make sure that the rings establish a wear pattern, not only on the cylinder wall, but on the ringland as well. So what we got to do is we have to get it up to operating temperature.
So it can start learning,
So it can start learning.
I just love how smooth it is right out of the gate. I mean, not even up to full operating temp yet, and that unit is already keeping it super silky smooth.
Yeah, we're like on the freeway in 5th gear right now. It's making a solid 30 plus horsepower. Aftermarket EFI has come so far in such a very short amount of time.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of spoiled on that front, you know.
Very spoiled. Look at that.
Wow.
It's still making 375 per torque.
There it goes.
That was a super long
Not bad,
pull.
yeah.
But
that was super smooth on load-in, though, for the first load-in. That's crazy.
Ooh, nice, look at that. Look how flat the torque is. 479 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
And it's making 529 horse.
Yeah.
And it's still going up at
Over
6,000.
400, pretty much 3,000 and up.
Yep.
That's awesome. Wow.
Nice. Air
That'd
fuel's,
pull a car along.
air fuel's tracking nice. Oil pressure's spectacular.
Yep.
All right. This engine has good enough valve train. We have the stabilizer bars on it.
Yeah, and the collars.
It's got really nice seat installed pressures on the spring. Got a nice spring on it. Feeling a little froggy here. Why don't we?
Yeah, crank that up just a little bit.
Okay. Don't get scared because we're gonna go 3,500 to 7,000. Oh, that sounds nice.
Dang.
That's pretty nasty right there.
Yeah.
Woo, look at there. 562 horse.
That's pretty
478 pound-feet. Okay, so we're gonna make that.
Right at 69, 7,000.
Wow. Where's torque peak? We're to make 478.
5,200. That's a wide spread.
Wow, that's super wide.
Yeah.
The wider you can spread the peak of torque and horsepower, the better this thing feels, right?
Yeah, when you're driving it.
Look at that pretty graph.
Let's put 2 degrees in it. I mean, it's at 26, pretty safe.
Okay.
Up to 28. Let's see what it does.
I like the way you talk. of snuck a little more into
a little bit. Yeah.
564.9, a little more torque.
Yeah, it's a nice engine.
This is very, very nice.
This is gonna be most likely a street engine. So this is something you could take that to the pump, put 93 in it, and not worry about it ever, exactly how it sits. So I like that.
I mean, LS better watch out. This is
they're starting to grow on me just because they have a good architecture. They have a great cylinder head, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And now that you have companies like Holley that are making like these really nice parts that make them super easy to swap, super easy to put in vehicles, and have great clearance, and they look great. I mean, I know I painted it, but I'm kind of biased. I think it looks great. So
don't twist your arm patting yourself on the back.
So I think it's I don't know. They're starting to grow on me.
The EFI. I can't say enough good stuff about something that you literally just plug in and it works.
Yep.
Hats off to Holley, and again, I've said it before, I am a little jealous of whoever ends up with this thing. Another success story, so.
Another good dyno day.
Another good dyno day.
All right.
Dyno day. Dyno days are the best days.
For more information on anything you've seen today, head on over to PowerNationTV.com.